Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles LARP Turtles. That's right, it's the next variations of the Fab Four in action figure form. This time, all geared up for some live action role play. Let's check them out. As you can see, all four turtles come packaged on the same style purple and green colored blister cards that we've seen for all of the figures in the Nick Turtles line so far. The blisters fully showcase each of the figures within and give you the names of these particular turtles along the bottom. And then flipping these card backs over to the back side, we are treated with a look at all of the figures currently available in the Playmates Nick Turtles line, including some upcoming figures. And above that, we get brand new bios for these live action roleplay versions of the TMNT. Alright, so these guys appeared in an episode of the cartoon series where they did some live action roleplay. But this also harkens back to the old days of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where we got some really wacky variants. It was very common to see the turtles dressed up as various things, and that was the first thing I thought of when I saw these new figures. So let's go ahead and take a look at them one by one and check them all out. We'll go ahead and start things off with Mikey the Elf. One thing that you'll notice about all these figures is they are brand new sculpts all the way through and through. The head sculpts on these figures are also new sculpts and do a good job of looking as the turtles appear in the animated series. So they're very similar to the head sculpts we've seen with all of the other variants, but not like the first versions of the turtles in the line. So Mikey is sporting a characteristic smile on his face. And then below that, he's got a newly sculpted torso where he's wearing an orange and green tunic. It's got that really great kind of medieval vibe to it. Of course, he is the elf, so it's supposed to be like some elvish clothes, but you'll notice he is wearing that over his standard Ninja Turtles gear. So he's still wearing the elbow pads and the knee pads. It's just the outfit he's wearing over his torso that's a little different than normal. It's got a great sculpt, and the paint job is nice and bright and very colorful on there. Flipping it over to the back side, you'll notice that there is a hole in his back where you can plug in the included quiver of arrows. Now, like most of the accessories in the Turtles line, it is completely unpainted. It's just a solid brown plastic, but it is sculpted to look like there are some arrows stuck in the actual quiver. Then to fit on top of his head is this really cool accessory of a little elvish hat with a feather sticking out of it, with elf ears that tie around his head. It's a really cool accessory, it just fits right over his head there, and looks exactly as it appeared in the cartoon series. That way he's got himself his little elf ears on his turtle head. It's really funny looking, but very cool. And then for his accessory to go right along with that quiver of arrows on his back is his bow. Again, it's molded in that same solid brown plastic, but can fit in either one of his hands. Now, the way the articulation is on the figure, of course, he is a bit bulky, just like we've seen with all the other turtle variants, so you're not going to be able to get any really solid arrow firing poses out of him, but you can still have some fun posing him around with his accessory. Next up, we're going to take a look at Raph the Barbarian. So, Raph plays the Barbarian character. That's very suitable for him, correct? He's got himself a really cool kind of furry, barbaric outfit there. It's a white fur sculpted on the torso there. It's got black belts coming across his chest and going around his waist. And then he's also wearing some same white furry gauntlets with some black straps around it, and even has some white furry boots with his turtle feet poking out of the bottom. The figure, like Michelangelo, is colored very nicely. It's got a really good paint job for the most part, as almost everything on there is painted very well. It's nice and clean. And he does include an accessory to fit on his head, just like Mikey, this time in the form of a Viking helmet. It's got mismatched horns on there, so one is red and pointing straight up, while the other is more of like an off-white and kind of pointing a little crooked. And the helmet just fits nice and snug on top of his head. To go right along with the barbaric fighting style, he also includes a battle axe accessory. Now again, it's just molded in a solid color plastic, so there's no paint deco on there, but it can fit nicely in either one of his hands, and you get some really cool battle axe wielding poses out of him. Now let's jump on over to Donnie the Wizard. Donnie's the brains of the operation, so it seems to make sense that he gets the role of the spellcaster in the group. Donatello's outfit is a little bit different than the others because he's wearing a much more bulkier outfit since he's wearing a long purple robe. The robe is part of the sculpt of the torso, and it's made of a hard plastic, so it's not really soft or flexible whatsoever. You can see it does have a lot of sculpted work in there, like some stars that are kind of in there, and he also has a sash going around his waist, and even some little pouches hanging off the front, but all of that is unpainted. It's all just done in a solid purple plastic. Now, his accessories, just like his brothers, also includes one that fits right over his head, this time in the form of a really cool pointed wizard's hat that has a beard attached to it. I love this. The paintwork on it's really nice too, because it's got a little gold medallion on the bottom of the beard, even has a gold little deco on the hat itself. It's made of a softer, more flexible plastic, and it fits right over his head, and makes it look like he's got a beard and long mustache hanging off of his turtle face, which is really cool. In addition to that, he also has a modified bow staff that looks like a wizard's staff, complete with a little makeshift orb at the top. You can hold that in either one of his hands, though the way his articulation is, you're not going to be able to get any really good two-handed poses out of it. You're only going to get some one-handed poses, but you should be able to get some really cool Gandalf-like poses. You shall not pass! And finally, that's going to bring us to Leo the Knight. Of course, the leader of the team, the most courageous, so a knight seems to perfectly suit him. You'll notice that he's actually wearing less attire than the rest of the crew. He does have a large blue cape that hangs over his shoulders, but it is removable, so you can pop that off if you want to. Though it is worth noting that underneath the cape there, the back of the figure where the shell is with his regular kind of belt and sash are all unpainted. They're just a solid green plastic. I suppose this was done because it's just hidden behind the cape there. Aside from that, he does just have a larger silver belt that is part of the torso sculpt, as well as silver bracers sculpted onto the forearms. For his accessories, he gets a really cool helmet that even has blue painted across the eyes that look like his bandana. It fits right over his head, though it is a little looser than the other turtles' headgear. It's got eye holes in it, but it's a bit tough to also get those lined up with the white eyes of his mask underneath. Not impossible, mind you, just a little tough since the helmet's a little loose fitting on his head. In addition to that, he also includes a sword and a trash can lid for a shield, both of which fit nicely in his hands and are done in the same unpainted plastic. Now, as far as the articulation goes on these turtles, all four of them share exactly the same articulation. So you're going to get nice ball joints at the head, so the heads can roll all the way around, look left and right. You got the nice ball joints at the shoulders, so the arms can go outwards, forwards, backwards, swivels above the elbow, standard elbow bend, swivels at the wrist. You got the hinge joints at the thighs, so the legs can go outwards, forwards, and backwards. You got the nice bends at the knees right below the knee pads, as well as swivels at the knees. So there's actually some pretty decent articulation here, and kind of what we've been getting with a lot of the most recent Turtles figures. Now, the only difference is that some of the sculpts on these guys is going to hinder that articulation just a bit. In particular, Donatello really has the worst articulation of the bunch. He's also lacking the elbow bends, but also that robe that he's wearing hinders the movement of his legs a little bit. Other than that, their articulation is all pretty much the same across all four figures, and you should be able to still get some really nice poses out of these guys. So there you go, my friends. There's a look at the brand new LARP Turtles. Not only were these featured in an episode of the Nickelodeon TMNT cartoon series, but, like I said in the beginning, this is a total throwback to the old school Playmates Toys toy line. Seriously, this took me right back to my childhood when I used to walk into the toy stores and see all kinds of crazy variants for the Turtles. We've already seen several variations of the Turtles in this new line, but I really think that I'm going to rank these guys up there as one of the best ones yet. At least one of the most fun ones. I really love these wacky dudes. I think the sculpts are really great on them, it's a really fun concept, and there's so much fun to kind of pose around and play with. If you're a big fan of the Ninja Turtles or you enjoyed this LARP Turtles episode of the cartoon, I really think you'd love to add these guys to your collection. The live-action role-play TMNT figures should be hitting store shelves very soon, so happy hunting, and until next time.